Wow, what a first leg it has been for all of these quarterfinals matches. I mean, let's just get right into it. The no first choice centre backs derby between Liverpool and Real Madrid really did deliver on the entertainment. It was always going to be a question of who could hide their defensive frailties the best. And the winner in that regard was no doubt Real Madrid, as they have been doing over the entirety of the season, really. Yes, Kabak and Phillips had some decent moments, but with how poor Liverpool was in that first half, with how their midfield was getting dominated by Kroos, Casemiro, and Modric, they were forced to defend. And when you have defenders that aren't top tier and they're made to work and are forced into the play more often, then that's an issue. As I mentioned earlier, hiding your frailties in this regard would be playing on the front foot, as Real Madrid did. Militao and Nacho were pretty excellent, you gotta be fair to them. Not something that is a given, actually, when it comes to Militao, but he was great in this match. But anyway, sorry. Liverpool side of things, not only do they have Kabak and Phillips at the back, who aren't at the caliber necessary for them to be successful at this level, but they have an out-of-sorts Trent Alexander-Arnold, and he was the target for much of the match, as plenty of Real Madrid's attacks were down that left side, while the right side of Kabak and Robertson saw a bit less of the ball. And wouldn't you know it, Real Madrid's opener came by way of a simple hoofed ball forward by Toni Kroos that was placed right in between Alexander-Arnold and Phillips, which Vinicius took down brilliantly and rolled past a stranded Alisson. A lot of credit needs to be given to Kroos for the placement and to Vinicius for, finally finishing. One of the aspects of his game that needs a ton of work. But the ease in which the goal came from, no pressure from Kroos in the midfield, and Vinicius able to take it down off of his chest, that shouldn't be happening. 9 minutes later, and another goal came from Alexander-Arnold's side of the pitch. Another for Real Madrid, that is. Another ball from Kroos played forward toward Alexander-Arnold, and it wasn't dealt with properly again, this time with Alexander-Arnold just heading it directly into the path of Asensio, who touched it over Alisson for the easy 2-0. Bit of a nightmare for him. Liverpool were awful in that first half in general, actually. Far too passive all over the pitch, and Naby Keita was the victim there, as he was yanked off in the 42nd minute, right before the half, which is always unfortunate. Better from Liverpool in the second half, as they took the match to Real Madrid more, and they got a goal out of it when, Wijnaldum drove at that Real Madrid defense. Jota had a strike that deflected straight to Salah, a bit fortunate, you gotta say, and his finish went off of Courtois, off of the bar, and in. Perhaps a crucial away goal, but 13 minutes later, Modric squared to Vinicius and his low effort beat Alisson. To be fair, he did see it late as it went through Phillips' legs, but the optics of the goal were poor from Liverpool's point of view. The defenders were just sort of standing around, it seemed like. On another day, Alisson would have had a stronger wrist and saved that. 3-1 Real Madrid, a brace from Vinicius, which is rare from him, and honestly Real could have had more if Asensio had got the ball under his spell on a couple of occasions. The return leg will be interesting. One away goal for Liverpool as they are 2 goals down, but they will have to play with much more intensity to find any joy against this Real Madrid squad that is improving as the season goes on, despite them having an injury crisis themselves. Never say never, but without the Anfield atmosphere, without Van Dijk and Henderson in the squad, it seems like a really long shot for Liverpool to turn this around. Manchester City versus Borussia Dortmund saw the host field a strikerless squad, but a strong squad all the same. I love seeing Foden out there, as to me he's a generational talent, and we saw that in flashes against this Dortmund side. As for Dortmund's back line, which was always going to be, the talking point, the biggest weakness of their side, they went with Guerrero, Hummels, Akanji, and Moret as the right back. Moret for me would be who City should target, and with Foden down that left, they absolutely did that. City's opener came thanks to a terrible mistake from Emre Can in giving the ball away in the middle of the pitch with 3 City players around him, which sprung City's attack through Kevin De Bruyne. Who else? The new contract boy. And with Murray caught out of position, pushed up the pitch, Foden had plenty of room to run into, as you can see here. The initial ball across the box was a bit out of reach for Mahrez to finish, but with nobody tracking De Bruyne's run into the box, he was able to cut it back to the Belgian for an easy finish. A sequence Chan will want to forget as he coughed up possession, and then he kind of failed to stick to De Bruyne in the box after that. When you look at this, not a soul covered De Bruyne. They all are culpable for it. They really did gift City that goal from the start to finish. About 20 minutes later, a ball forward from Guerrero was touched back to Ederson by Ruben Dias, and Ederson made a mess of it, allowing Jude Bellingham to touch it away from him for an easy finish. But instead of letting things play out, the referee blew his whistle for a foul on Ederson. I mean, with VAR, you'd hope that he would have let it play through so Bellingham could finish the play, then go back to see if there's a foul on Ederson, but he didn't. And there wasn't a foul on Ederson, in my opinion. He tried to flick the ball up so he could volley it down the pitch. Bellingham nipped in as the ball was in the air. It wasn't necessarily in his possession. I think that's free game for him to try and challenge for that ball. And Ederson actually initiated the contact on Bellingham and his follow through, as you can see here. So a let off for City, which was unfortunate for Borussia Dortmund because they were actually pretty good on the day and were deserving of that goal, I thought. Erling Haaland should have leveled as well, as he missed a great opportunity, but he made up for that in the 84th minute as he showed off the aspect of his game that goes underappreciated, his passing ability. A clearance from Foden fell to Chan on the halfway line, and with Bellingham stepping around Rodri and playing the ball forward to Haaland, his first touch, a sliced through ball on the half turn through to Marco Reus, was beautiful, and the finish was just as clean. 1-1, redemption for that first half, capping off a much better second half from Borussia Dortmund. But I mean, just 5 minutes later, a beautiful ball from De Bruyne on the right flank to the right side of Dortmund's defense once again. Remember, one of the weaker areas, but this time it was Meunier back there. And Gundogan cut back to Foden to roll it past Hitz. Well executed goal, but Dortmund sleeping in defense once again. Meunier just misreading the flight of the ball. Take nothing away from De Bruyne's pass, of course, but just misreading it, and that set it up perfectly for Gundogan to feed Foden. Foden missed an opportunity earlier in the match, actually, but he made up for it there. 2-1 City. What will possibly be a crucial away goal in this tie it's very close still. Perhaps with supporters in the stands, there would be more belief in the Dortmund side, but I don't know. I can't really see it happening. As they showed against Sevilla, they can score goals, but it's difficult against this City side, isn't it? Underdogs Porto took on Chelsea, and they really did put up a good fight, especially in the first half, where they had the lion's share of the opportunities. But ultimately, even while struggling at times, this was the result that was expected. 2-0 to Chelsea, due in part to Porto being without important players such as Taremi and Sergio Oliveira, due in part to how well Chelsea have been under Tuchel, minus that West Brom collapse. But collapses happen, anomalies happen, and it almost didn't seem like it was an anomaly based on how poor Chelsea were in the first half against Porto. But ultimately, the outcome of this one wasn't a massive surprise. A weakened Porto side versus a Chelsea side that has largely been in great form under Tuchel. They found their breakthrough in the 32nd minute when Jorginho played the ball into Mason Mount, and his turn left Zaidu on the floor and Otavio embarrassed by how his teammate had overcommitted. Oh man, I got a kick out of seeing this one. Otavio nearly collapsing out of cringe for his teammate, but it really was a filthy turn from Mason Mount. And the finish wasn't bad either, across the face of the goal, low into that bottom corner. And it was with Chelsea's only shot of that first half, which must hurt for Porto. It really wasn't all that impressive from Chelsea's point of view in the first half. In fact, it was poor at times, and Porto were the better team throughout much of that first half. But even in saying that, they didn't trouble Mendy all that much, bar maybe Pepe's header right before the half. But in the second, Chelsea, Tuchel must have had a strong word with them because they were much better. They carved out further chances. Werder came close. Story of his Chelsea career, unfortunately, thus far. Marega forced a save. Luis Diaz hit one just wide. It opened up in the second half, leading to chances in both directions. Pulisic, who was part of the squad and did even make an appearance in this one as a sub, despite, the injury that he picked up last weekend. He had a strike go off of the crossbar, but ultimately, one away goal is manageable, but 2 away goals unanswered, it's a large hill to climb for Porto now. And in the 85th minute, Corona, of all people, miscontrolled the ball, leaving it to Ben Chilwell to step around Marquezine and make it 2-0. Chelsea. So Chelsea respond well to get the 2-0 win against a very tricky Porto side after that horrid display against West Brom. And Porto, well and truly have it against them in this one now, in giving up those 2 away goals. Oliveira and Taremi return, but we'll see how much of a difference they really make. Bayern versus PSG was an incredible match in the gentle embrace of the snow that was falling in Munich. My goodness, did we ever have a good time during this watch along for this one, as PSG absolutely exploited the exact thing that we thought could be an issue for Bayern, because it has been the fear for Bayern for a while now. Their defense. The chickens came home to roost, and Neymar played a big role in that roosting. Bayern started slow, extremely slow, which has been a bit of an issue for them all season long. They sort of need to taste their own blood in order to get going. But this was monumentally slow. It started with Di Maria playing a beautiful ball inside to Neymar, who was playing in the 10 position into great effect. Neymar was close to man of the match for PSG if it wasn't for a certain Costa Rican keeper. But anyways, Neymar, he drove that back line in the 3rd minute, just wide to Mbappe, and while it wasn't his cleanest finish, it went in off of the inside of Neuer's thigh for the early lead for PSG. And the away goal. Bayern labored to get themselves going, but again, that's nothing new this season, and they did indeed get up and running after that. Long diagonal balls to the flanks to trigger the overlapping runs was their play of choice, as it typically is, trying to target PSG's left side where Diallo was left to deal with Leroy Sané. And again, he did well for the most part, but add Pavard into the mix and it made it all the more difficult for him. Pavard constantly making those overlapping runs, cutting inside, just a headache. But again, Bayern's defense let them down for a team that has such an elite attack, at least when Lewandowski is involved, and one of the best midfields in Europe. Their defense truly left a lot to be desired, and the ease in which Marquinhos found himself in behind enemy lines unchallenged with Neuer at his mercy and Mbappe to his right in the 28th minute, I mean, it was another poor look for Bayern's defense, and it was 2-0 PSG at that point. However, a ton of credit needs to go to Neymar, who played another stunning ball over the top on his left. From there, injuries started to pile up in this match. You know, Marquinhos and Goretzka went off for Herrera and Davies respectively, pushing Alaba into midfield and Danilo into the center-back position for PSG. Choupo-Moting did head past Navas from a Pavard cross, and Muller made it 2-2 from a Kimmich free kick in the second half, only for Mbappe to make Boateng look like he was on roller skates as he tried to backtrack, leading to another goal for PSG to make it 3-2. But for me, the two stars of this match were Navas and Neymar. Neymar for obvious reasons, with his creating of the first 2 away goals for PSG, and Navas for making save after save after save. It was getting ridiculous. 10 saves in total, to a varying degree of difficulty, of course, but he stood strong for each. This was domination for Bayern, with 31 attempts to PSG's 6, 25 more opportunities for Bayern, 12 on target to PSG's 5. While PSG did well to defend, Bayern did themselves no favors when it came to their finishing, or worse yet, their defending. Yes, they were missing Lewandowski. How could you not miss a player of that caliber? But it was in defense where they lost this match, in my opinion, not in the attack, where Navas was incredible in stopping them, yes, but it was their defending that let them down. So that's 3 away goals for PSG, but this tie isn't over just yet. I refuse to call any of the ties just yet, especially this one. Most likely scenario is PSG making it through, but I mean, sleep on Bayern at your own peril. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video and the matches this week. I thank you for watching. My name is Adrian, and I hope to see you tomorrow for another video. Ciao.